So we're here with Victor Dyrnes. He's co-founder of Mobile and founder also of Victor Do. So we're gonna talk about expats doing business in Peru. How are you, Victor?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Stefano.
Okay, Victor, my first question is, how is it that a Norwegian guy goes to Peru to make big business? I mean, how is this adventure? How this adventure started?
Yes, I think it started. I've always loved doing new businesses. I've done a lot of different startups, very small ones though, but I did that in Norway. And I always looked for opportunities, especially when traveling. Then I went backpacking through Latin America before I did my master's. And I thought it's quite bad, the mobile services here. The reception was good, but I thought the mobile applications, the way you bought the SIM card, the onboarding process, everything was really bad. And I will obviously always get a SIM card while getting to a new country to not get high roaming costs. So yeah, that's when I started thinking, why don't I start a virtual operator here in Peru? So I decided maybe to do it.
But why Peru? I mean, you saw the same situation in the whole Latin America, or it was it was even worse in Peru. Why Peru? That's the question.
Yeah, so I started doing some research, and this was while I was doing my master's. So I was writing my thesis about doing this project, and the first original idea was doing the whole of Latin America, like do a multinational virtual operator. And during the investigation process, I found out that Colombia already had more competition. Mm-hmm. And Peru was just getting started. The laws were just getting passed. There was only one company trying to get in, which was Virgin Mobile. So that's when I said, okay, here is the first mover advantage.
So it was a matter of opportunity. You saw opportunity.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. As well as might add that I had some Peruvian friends. One of them, he was at that time working in Zurich in a bank, mm-hmm. But I thought he would be an excellent partner. So I asked him to come join me and do this company together. So he said yes and quit his job a bit later.
Okay. So, and just so we get to know you better, you had mm-hmm. previous experience in Norway doing business, right?
Yeah.
What type of business did you had in Norway, for example?
It would be anything where I saw there was a small gap in the market and something I could get my hands on. So my first thing was in school, you had to make a book with all the rules for math. So for the math exam, you were allowed to bring this small book. And I discovered then that a great opportunity might be to sell this book because I found one online that was perfect. So that was the first thing. Then I started selling some bicycles. I imported one bicycle for myself from Belgium. And I saw that it was much cheaper buying from Belgium than buying it in Norway. So I decided to start buying more bicycles from Belgium and selling them online in Norway. And I think this was when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And I kept doing these small side hustles, very informal, nothing at scale, but I learned a lot along the way.
So you have always been a natural entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It seems. So moving on to Peru, at first, which were the initial challenges of making business in Peru in comparison with Norway or the UK or Europe in general?
Mm. I would say that a huge difference was obviously the language. I didn't speak Spanish when I moved here. I work professionally in Spanish now, but when I moved here, I had to do meetings in English. That obviously restricts the amount of people you can have a serious meeting with, especially when you talk to the government or so. Then I would say that something that surprised me and was tough was the bureaucracy, and it's extremely paper intensive, especially doing a mobile operator. You need to get the concession from the Ministry of Transportation and Communication, so it's a long process that requires a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of paperwork. And yeah, I thought that was hard. I mean, in the beginning, I thought it was really rude that everyone was always late to meetings. I remember I would be like really telling these high executive directors at Claro, which we rent the network from, like, why the fuck are you late? Like, you can't act this way. This is disrespectful. But I realized it's kind of also a part of the culture. So I had to learn that way. I would say it's a lot easier being foreigner when you have a Peruvian partner, because definitely. You have someone that connects better with people. He understands the culture better, and that helped me kind of settle in, because I would be phased in and he would be helping to like take charge of meetings and stuff in the beginning.
Okay, cool. And what could you tell us about Cuymóvil now? How has the company has evolved in all these years? How is the situation now with Cuymóvil?
Yeah, so actually we when we founded the company, it was called Guinea Mobile, as in guinea pig, which is the same as a cuy. So because we were thinking that we would have an English name that could be expanded. So the company is called Guinea Mobile SAC, and we launched a brand called Cuymóvil. It was like a really tough market the first year or so. Like we were really struggling to get clients, really trying all this different stuff, spending a lot in marketing. And it was tough to compete with the big operators, who are the biggest spenders in marketing in Peru. And then what happened was that we saw that we needed to make some changes. So we decided to pivot. And that's when we stepped away and we said, okay, let's say that Cuymóvil is the brand that we use ourselves. And then Guinea Mobile is the brand of their company. Guinea Mobile provides Cuymóvil with mobile services, but we could also provide other companies with the same services. We would still own the clients. We would control the support, the mobile applications, the legal, make it very simple, but any company could get a mobile offer in a matter of 8 weeks. That was our new value proposition. So we then managed to sign an agreement with a company called Wings Mobile in October 2020. We launched Wings Mobile.
So sorry, this was after the beginning of the pandemic.
Yes, exactly. So during the pandemic, we were working on that.
So you've managed to thrive during the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, the first 6 months were really hard because the government said that the mobile operators are not allowed to activate clients anymore. So they blocked all of it. But then we had the upswing because we launched a technology which is self-verification. You take a picture with your phone of your fingerprint. And there was written an article in RPP with the interview of the president of Occipitel that said that from 1st of May the only operator in the market that will be allowed to sell SIM cards would be Guinea Mobile or Kui Mobile.
Whoa.
Because of this technology. Obviously, the other operators copied it within a few weeks, but it was like a pat on the back that we were doing something right.
Yeah, I guess that was a big moment for you guys, huh?
Yeah, and it also helped us to land our first white label company, this Wings Mobile.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and after we launched that, it's been a great success. We've been growing very fast over the last 12 months, and now the company is looking much more solid. We're 24 people. It's not like a cash problem anymore. So yeah,
well,
the pivot was necessary.
Well, that's good to hear. And what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned after all these years doing this with Kui Mobile?
I would say there are two things. There's one which is patience, and another one is like, I mean, stuff takes time, and there's something that's contrary but also important. Is sometimes it's better to just launch something, because that's when you really start learning. It's about probably launch at smaller scales, always work with MVPs, not launch fully before you're ready. Then it's better to build something a bit better.
Yeah, so I'm guessing this is an important moment to see this adventure in retrospect and see the points connecting, no?
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, so when does Victor's Dough started? That's my second question.
And so during the pandemic, or I mean, it's kind of started before that. My wife, she's also Norwegian. Mm-hmm. She always liked it in Peru, but she said there's one thing I really miss, which is good bread. And
it's hard to find.
In Norway, we have a huge bread culture. It's a lot of bakeries. The breads are much better in the supermarket, so it's quite different. And that's I started then baking in, I think it was January 2020. So like 3 months before the pandemic, I started baking a lot. We would go to the beach in the weekends to Ancon, and we would bring I would bring my dough with me because it couldn't be left at home. And I got passionate about baking. And then when the country locked down and I wouldn't go to the office anymore, I obviously had a lot more time to start baking, as it takes a whole day. I could be in meetings, but I could have my hands in the dough and do the different small stuff I had to do throughout the day.
So I'm guessing that when you went to the beach, we went to Ancon, you got really nice comments about your bread.
Yeah, I mean, they liked it, but it was still not amazing. It got amazing during the pandemic.
Okay.
Because that's when I had time. So I think in about May, I started becoming really confident about the bread, and I would bake a lot because it takes a lot of practice working with sourdough, which is the only thing I bake with. So I would have extra bread, because when you practice every day, you can't eat all the bread yourself. So I would start sending my friends some bread. I gave a lot of breads to a friend once and told him to bring it to another friend which he was meeting. And this other friend, he called me and he said, "This bread is amazing. It's the best I tried in Peru. We have to do a company with this." And I thought about doing a company. It was not, for me, it was not something I wanted to go like full head on. But this friend convinced me. So we then decided to do the company. It's him, he's Peruvian, and it's me and my wife. So we're
Oh,
3 partners.
so this is a new company. You already have like a place where where
Yeah.
people
So
go and get
the first 2 months we actually baked from home, me and my wife. So the oven would be running all day long. I would do breads from like 6 a.m. until maybe 5 p.m. And then she would start making the cookies in the evening, which we also started selling. So we would then sell cookies and bread. Cookies were her thing. I was doing the bread.
Oh,
And then at some point we were like, we can't keep doing this. And so we hired a baker and we got a local close here, like with no rent for the first year. So yeah.
for example, what is your vision right now that you have for Victor's Dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you picture
So
something for the near future?
yeah, so now it's a company that runs on itself. None of us are working full time in that. It's more we're like partners and accionistas.
Mhm.
But we recently raised funds, and we have a team of 2 bakers, person on marketing, and 1 person on all operations. It's kind of the gerente general. We also have an accountant, and there's the delivery guy. So it's on a daily basis, it's 6 people that are part-time or full-time involved, and that runs the business. And our vision now that we are constructing a new bakery, which will open in middle of October, is to go to B2B. So we want to be the best at doing great bread for supermarkets, restaurants, cafes, stuff like that. So in Peru, we already deliver fresh bread every day to Flora y Fauna, La Zanahoria, and a few more places, some restaurants like Jerónimo.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's the vision. And one of our investors, he lives in Mexico. He delivers salmon to the hotels, restaurants, supermarkets there, and they've been asking him for good bread. So that's one of the reasons why I invested. So he wants to take the business to Mexico as well.
Wow. So
So yeah, that's the vision.
it seems that your business are doing great right now. Do you think I mean, the pandemic has been a like a big moment for your two business?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think for the telecommunication, it forced us to think differently. Forced us to be more heads-on with the pivot. We had talked about the pivot already in February, but I think the pandemic made us actually do it. Also, I think one thing that might have been very healthy with the pandemic is that before the pandemic, we were under a lot of pressure. Sales were not picking up as we wanted. We were running to the office every day, staying late, trying to compensate by working more, but that's not necessarily the solution. So being forced to take a step back, breathe a little, stay at home, and kind of being forced to relax a bit more because there was nothing to do for a few months when we were not allowed to sell any SIM cards in Peru. I think that was very healthy because that's when you actually start thinking differently on stuff. You're not just in the rat race. You're forced to really think differently. So for me, that was very healthy and something I really enjoyed. And I think the pandemic changed the way we worked and how we looked at our business. Now for a bakery, it obviously made me have the time to profession my baking skills and make a bread that someone thought was very good. So I think without the pandemic, I would probably just be a hobby baker baking in weekends. The pandemic made it possible to launch a bakery, and yeah.
Well, that's an important lesson, huh? You're telling us. And how do you see now, the country, the political situation? How do you see the near future in terms of business, the economy? How do you feel right now about that?
I mean, I think there's always risks doing business in Latin America. For me, it's the interesting part. It's different. It's less competition than if you do something in Europe. It's easier to do stuff good, I think, sometimes, because you already know that this type of business is going to thrive in a year or 2 years, because that's what happened in all other countries that are modernizing. I think that's the positive side. I'm rarely very stressed. I'm never scared or anything of changes. So for me, the political situation is not a big issue. Obviously, it's something we have to take seriously. I think it's something to keep a close eye on for the basically the telecommunication part. It's not a company we can move to a different country overnight, but we are looking to expand that as well. So I think it's something that is important, not put all your eggs in one basket, but be a bit more wide. So yeah, in general, I'm impressed by Peru, though. I think how the country has been doing the last 20-25 years, keep growing GDP. We're also seeing a boost in GDP now, even though with the elections and the pandemic, post-pandemic, now we're seeing an increase in GDP. So I think that's
a good sign.
That's good. Yeah. The debt is really low in Peru, so good.
So even though that there's always risk in doing business in a country like Peru, it's worth the try because of, as you said, there's not much competition, and overall the economy is doing well.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of fundamental pillars to stand on. I think it's good to try to, when it's possible, to go to more countries, to open up the markets. And if something really bad happens and another country really turns around, obviously it wouldn't be possible to do business here anymore. But that's normally going to take a long time. Like, it took how long for Venezuela? Like 30 years, 20 years to become as bad. So
that's true.
We should still, even though if the government go down that road, really hope they don't, but we would have probably 10, 20 more years, which should be good.
Yeah, for sure. So you have these two businesses that are doing pretty much fine right now. Do you invest in other startups, or do you have any other type of investments? Like, do you invest in stocks or in cryptocurrencies or something like that?
Yeah, always investing a bit in stocks, and also crypto. Probably been for 6 years or so, in and out, and a bit. Never been super active, but always thought it was interesting and so on. But I've been through the last bubble, so I'm
you're investing in
risk averse this time.
And you're investing in some altcoins, or you're just focusing in Bitcoin, Ethereum, the more consolidated?
Now it's Bitcoin and Ethereum, but last time I was all over the place.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm more risk averse this time.
Yeah.
I was 18, I think, when the last bubble. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of future investments, what type of businesses or economic sectors are you interested in?
I'm interested in the market of IoT, Internet of Things. I think that's something that grows super quick, and they need connectivity, which we have. So we already have a few clients that are companies doing GPS, and they need SIM cards to connect the GPS. So that's the IoT business we are doing now. But I think that market is gonna grow quickly. I think not necessarily the crypto part, but the blockchain development, super interesting as well. I love crypto as well, but it's more risky with all the altcoins, but the big ones I believe in. But for the, I think there's huge possibilities, especially in countries like this, for instance, in Peru, and so much paper. Security is very like dominated. For instance, you have to do all your documents in a notaria, which for me it's like middle-aged. So why is that not in an app? We could have a ledger that stores the information in several places, and it will be much more secure. We could use the remote fingerprint or facial recognition or biometric verification, so you don't need a notaria to see if it's that person. So for me, that's I think that's very interesting, and I will keep looking in those markets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of potential anyway, as you say. So, what would you say is the best advice that someone has given to you in terms of investment or in management? Yeah, do you have some good advice that was given to you?
In terms of investment
or management, you know, something that you always remember.
I mean, for in terms of entrepreneurship, I think it's like sometimes it's just to do it. That's the, like, my dad always told me when I was telling him an idea and I was 14 years old. He said, "Dad, why don't you just do it?" And then I would just do it. And I think that's a very good advice. In terms of investing, I think it's the advice of always do stuff you really understand. I think for me, when I started investing in a lot of altcoins and the bubble burst, it was like losing all the money, and in the end, did I really understand all of these different companies, and did I really believe in their vision? Maybe I was sold on the idea and the potential, but not the full vision. So after that, I've actually decided to not be investing in that way anymore, and instead investing companies like my bakery, which, I mean, I love bread. I think everyone should eat good bread, and I want to provide everyone with good bread. So I'll invest in making that happen.
Well, Victor, I have only one question left, and it's this: what has been the hardest challenge you had to overcome in your businesses or in your investments?
Hardest challenge in my business must have been almost running out of money. I mean, almost going bankrupt. That was obviously super hard with the telecom company. I think we barely made it, but if it hadn't turned around in that month, it turned around, the month after, the company would have been bankrupt. So, and it was impossible to raise funds. So I think that was at that point, it was really the toughest period during the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's always some interesting lessons, no, in every situation. Yes, you were saying?
No. Okay.
Okay. Well, that was the last question, Victor. Thank you very much for your time. It was very interesting to get to know you, and to get to meet you. And I wish you the best of luck. That's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Stefano. Pleasure to meet you as well, and thank you for the opportunity. We'll be in touch.